Hello, everyone, and welcome to Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast in all of the internet. My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is Patrick Knisley.
My name is David Howe, and oh boy, we got a very special guest for you this evening. Returning to the podcast after a couple months, Jeremy Franklin joins us on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Jeremy, how you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing good, David. Thanks for having me again, Switch Headz. Good to be back.
Of course.
Thank you for being here, Jeremy. You are here to talk about cost versus value with the prices of games increasing next generation. We want to talk about what's worth it in video games. Is a $60 price tag worth some games? And sometimes it's not, sometimes it is. We're going to discuss it as our main topic. In the news, we're going to talk about the Pikmin 3 demo, some Super Nintendo World theme park news, Amazon canceling Crucible.
Yes. We're talking about it.
Yeah, that's right. We're talking about it. And then the upcoming Splatfest for Halloween. Before we get started, what's up, y'all? How you doing?
Pretty good.
Doing all right. Went on a little bike ride before the podcast, so I feel nice. Got some exercise, got some wind through my hair.
That's nice. It's the weather's been beautiful up here, so can't beat it.
It's a good day to early vote.
God
right?
bless Austin, Texas. Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's voting week. Get out there, no matter what. Get out there. Do your civic duty.
Go vote right now.
Go vote.
Keep on listening to this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. You can do both at the same time. What a great way to what a great way to spend your time at the polls. Right.
Even if you're in like England, still go out.
Vote.
Go out.
Take a
don't
plane.
Mail in a vote. Yeah,
don't
here.
Mail. Definitely don't mail in the vote.
Steal some dead guy's documents and vote Democrat.
Yep.
No, I'm just kidding.
But please.
But please, we beg you.
Oh boy. All right. Well, before we talk news, a couple shout outs. We got an Apple Podcast review from The Boy King, who said this podcast is informative and funny. They take Nintendo as seriously as they take their bits, and that is true.
Aww.
That is true.
That's nice.
That's very sweet.
Thank you, The Boy King.
We take our bits seriously. We had a couple of special episodes come out. And we had somebody, Nate, on Twitter, commented on our Captain N one, saying that it reminded them of a 90s kid journalist show, which is great. And they loved it. That wasn't like a criticism, I don't think.
Yeah.
So,
that's nice.
That's really great. Yeah, that was at Nelder72. Nate.
Yeah.
They're
you.
like, this really reminded me of Harriet the Spy.
And we put out the...
I love Michelle Trachtenberg.
Rosie O'Donnell.
Wow, you guys remember that movie. We are now a Harriet the Spy podcast.
Yeah, that's true.
The Mario 35 episode we just put out, Digital Gardens on Instagram said, thank you for this. It was much needed. It was much needed. For me too. I wasn't that good at this game prior to this.
Yeah. And apologies if any of the tips and tricks aren't 100% accurate. The meta is still evolving in that game. So we're still discovering how it plays. Well, we did our best.
To that point, it generated some discussion on our Discord, especially with Kyle and Andrew. And they both kind of talked about targeting the people with the least time or lowest time or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So
I say avoid it. I stick by
what
pretty much attackers 100%. Yeah.
David stands by what he said. Don't target lowest time.
Saying that I stand by attackers doesn't sound too good in 2020, but I think you guys know what I mean.
Oh boy. But we'd love to hear from you. Leave us a review like that, or share the podcast somewhere, or send us an email or a message. We love our listeners reaching out, and we'll talk. And we'll talk about the news. We're kind of late to this because I think it happened right when our last one released, but there was the Nintendo Treehouse event that happened about a week ago on, I think, October 7th it was. Anyway, they showed off some Pikmin 3 Deluxe and some Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I did not watch this because I know I want to play both of these games. Did anybody watch this?
I watched a bit of it. Yeah.
Well, what stood out to you?
Well, I mean, I'm but again, like Patrick said, I'm pretty sure that I'm definitely going to get Hyrule Warriors. I'm not convinced on Pikmin. I think Hyrule Warriors looks incredible. I really love the first one. Everything that they're doing with this new one, I think, looks like just a totally cool, unique experience. I'm not the biggest like Muso fan, or I think that's what they're called with like the Dynasty Warriors type games, but I'm a big enough Zelda fan to where I can really get into it. The Fire Emblem one was pretty cool too. Just everything about it, man. I think that they've done a great job of fleshing out the characters. Like, I think they showed Zelda using the Sheikah Slate for attacks, which just looked super cool.
I like that a lot, that she's not just kind of like flailing around and hitting people.
Yeah, exactly.
That she's like more of a tactical like technology person.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So I thought that was cool. They showed that
100%. Yeah, and all the other champions are legends, champions, whatever. I've been playing too much Apex Legends. The champions, they showed off the Gerudo one too, I think.
Urbosa.
Yeah. I mean, like, the first one did a great job with fan service, and this one just looks like it's in the exact same direction. Like, totally great fan service edition. And I mean, I loved the Breath of the Wild story and where they kind of took Zelda with that. And I'm really excited to see exactly what led up to that with the whole Calamity War and all that.
Yeah, same.
Like, Nintendo released a new trailer within the past couple of days, and there's lots of speculation on the story. And like, one of the main parts that have been really fun is that King Roham from Breath of the Wild, in some of his writings in the compendium, said that the fortune teller kind of help unearth the divine beasts. This is getting really nerdy, y'all. But that's how the divine beasts came, because the fortune teller kind of unearthed them. People are speculating that's possibly a plant from the Yiga clan.
Ooh, wow.
And like Yuga, the like a character from, I guess it was A Link Between Worlds, right? Is like, people are talking a lot about them because there's an image they sort of teased that looks like them. Is that right?
Man, that'd be cool. I'd love some sort of like canon crossover, like multiverse shit going on. Like, if they were able to cross over like Breath of the Wild, maybe that's down the line, you know what I mean? But some sort of like, because they've got this timeline now. Like, if they could draw from all these different kinds of links for a game at some point in the future, how about a Smash Brothers that's all links? We got a Smash that's all Kirby's that just came out. So let's do one for every single series. I will say, like, I thought the Age of Calamity stuff looked amazing, and I'm very much looking forward to the game. I'll definitely be picking that up. But I thought that Pikmin 3 Deluxe kind of stole the show here. Like, I wasn't quite expecting so many new features to be added into this game, but it looks like they've actually added quite a bit. The multiplayer, like both co-op and competitive multiplayer, they showed off a lot, and it looks really robust. And the co-op seems to work really, really smoothly. It's split screen down the middle, so it's not like you have to wait on somebody to get inside your screen before you can work together. It looks to be like really fun to play together with somebody. So I'm looking forward to playing that and trying out that extra spicy difficulty.
Didn't they have co-op like split screen down the middle in Pikmin 3 on Wii U? Was that not a thing? They definitely had competitive like that, right?
I don't think they had.
There was multiplayer. There was definitely multiplayer in Pikmin 3 on Wii U.
Yeah,
I don't think it was in story mode though, right? Like, or something like that.
I don't think it was campaign co-op. No,
I only ever played that game single player on the Wii U, so I'm definitely looking forward to trying it out with Sasha and maybe trying to play through the campaign in co-op, because I think it could be a lot of fun.
That sounds like that would be cool to play through in co-op. My biggest gripe about that game is just the lack of the Wii U tablet. And I know that's been said a million times before, but that was such a cool thing to play through on the Wii U. And just being able to kind of like mark out your routes for all three characters in that sense. And I don't think that they had like a real good replacement for that in this deluxe edition. So I just don't know if I'll be picking it up at least day one, maybe down the line.
Well, I'm going to back this up one second. And last thing I want to say about Age of Calamity, the Hyrule Warriors game, was that something you said, Jeremy, and I think we've had maybe at least two or three people on since this game got announced, and all of them have said what you've said of like, I don't really like Warriors games, but I'm going to get this one. And I think this might be one of the best-selling Warriors games ever.
I think unless it's the best-selling Warriors game.
I think there's a good chance, unless it flops or like they're just making it look good.
This game
sell like hotcakes.
This game's going to sell 10 million in its first month. I bet. I guarantee you. I think before the year is over, with Christmas and holiday sales and shit like that, this game's going to sell like fucking hotcakes. And people that's how big of a hit Breath of the Wild was. Like, people want more, and they want more right now. So I think this game is going to fly off the shelves. I bet by 2021 we see 10 million sold.
Yep. Yeah.
And then
I'm
sorry. Yeah, it's going to be big. So,
but that's the Super Switch Headz guarantee: 10 million by the end of 2021.
Yeah. If Age of Calamity does not sell 10 million copies, and that's including digital by 2021.
Okay.
I will. What should I do? I'll eat something on an episode. I will eat my Game Boy Advance SP.
Whoa!
Live.
Wait. What's the time?
I'll swallow it whole.
What's the time frame?
Let's say Q1. No.
Yeah.
That gives me some more time.
Fiscal 2021. Fiscal 1. FY. Yeah.
If Age of Calamity does not outsell Animal Crossing by January, I will eat a Game Gear.
Yeah, you're going to eat so many of the Game Gears.
Well, and then back to Pikmin 3, they released a demo on the Switch. So if you are on the fence, you should check it out. And I wasn't on the fence, but I checked this out because the save will cross over to the full game.
Excellent.
And I played this in co-op with my son, and I was already pretty excited about this game. And we played the demo, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, that was so much fun! I can't believe we have to wait 3 weeks." like super antsy. Like, I think the co-op is great, the way they implemented it, and it's just like you said. Split screen works so much better. Like, there's some other game we were playing recently. I think it was Untitled Goose Game, which they patched in the co-op, where we're just fighting. We're on opposite ends of the screen and pulling each other. Like, I want to go this way, I want to go that way, and it's like it's miserable. But this, you can just go off and do whatever.
Right. It definitely seems like they've done a good job with it. I played the demo a little bit today as well. Not as long as I wanted to, but enough to be like, yep, this is Pikmin. But it seems like a ton of fun. Also, Pikmin seems like the perfect game for you and Magnus, honestly. Yeah,
it was great.
You guys have not played a Pikmin game before.
I've never played a Pikmin game at all, so I was excited to try it out. And also, like, to follow up on something you said, David, too, like, this game does seem to have a lot that they've added, which I think we'll maybe even talk about this in our main topic of, like, are Wii U ports worth $60? Well, when they add a ton of stuff, that definitely helps. So
yeah, Pikmin 3 is the only one that I've played. I've never played the first two, but I would love to. I would love to see them do like a package thing for Switch with all three.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
Honestly, yeah. How far does the demo go?
Yeah, so it's through the first boss, and if you play it correctly, that would take you 3 days. But you can actually like go slow and have it take more days. I don't know what the max is, if it times out at some point,
cool,
or if you just die because you can't get enough fruit or whatever. But like, yeah, and I agree with you. I hope this has ignited my interest in Pikmin as a franchise. I hope that's true for this franchise. Hopefully it does well.
Yeah, I'd love to see Pikmin 4 also. I know that was like a big rumor for a long time, so who knows?
Can't wait to see Hey Pikmin 2.
Ooh, okay, we'll move on. So there was some Super Nintendo World theme park news, like Matt said. They announced that the Tokyo theme park is going to open in spring of next year.
Oh, did you guys hear that? I think I just heard Chris McKeever come somewhere.
Good luck getting a ticket to leave the country, though. I don't know if Japan's going to let Americans
I've heard rumors.
Oh, really?
I've heard rumors that that the reason that Nintendo is opening this up in March or April is because that's when Japan is planning on allowing foreigners back into the country.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense.
Which coincides with the
Olympics,
2020 Olympics, exactly.
Right.
The 2020-2021 Olympics?
Yeah. 2020, 21, 2016. Yeah. That's the Super Switch Headz guarantee. Now, if the goddamn Olympics doesn't happen next year, I will eat my Game Boy Advance Mini.
We will all eat our press badges that we got for E3 2020.
Yes.
But while we're on this theme park news real quickly, so they've showed off some photos, which we already have seen in leaked stuff, but they also showed off that they're going to open like a cafe in the broader park sooner than like I think it's probably even open maybe.
I think it's open now.
Yeah, where they have like all these Mario and Luigi like snacks and drinks and stuff. So that's kind of cool.
So wait, you can actually buy stuff there? You said it's open now?
Or yeah,
there's like a Mario and Luigi style cafe. That is open now. Yeah,
wow.
And that's got like merch. It's probably like holdover stuff that they already made because they expected the park to already be open.
Yeah,
just right. So that's kind of like a little preview area before they open the park proper.
Oh, that's cool.
And if you look at these pictures, it's like the restaurant Mario Cafe is called Schwab's Pharmacy, and I was like,
I know.
I was like, what
reference is that?
Well, it's not. But what I looked is this is part of the existing like Hollywood section of Universal Studios Japan, and it's just like the facade part of the existing infrastructure.
Gotcha.
I saw pictures of the food that they were going to sell at the Mario Cafe, and wow, I would get one of each of those if I went there.
Yeah,
that looks like something straight out of the Mushroom Kingdom. Definitely,
I want Mario and Luigi. Yeah. So moving on then. In Japan, Nintendo has announced that they are going to reduce the Joy-Con price. But before you get too excited, this is just Japan, and it is just the single Joy-Con, which, if you've ever looked into this, costs more, like more than it would if you bought two. Like I think in the US, it's $80 for a pair and $50 for a single, which they're impossible. They're impossible to find anyway. You have to like order them online, and even then, I don't know. But so in Japan, it's going to be appropriately priced to what I think half of one would be. But speculation, of course, being what it is, we're all like, well, maybe that means they're going to reduce the price of all of them, or maybe it means they've realized that their Joy-Cons have problems, or I don't know. What do y'all think?
I mean, I imagine that this price will eventually be reflected here in the West as well. I don't think that they want to shoot themselves in the foot and make any announcements right now because they want to milk it for as long as they can. But I mean, obviously, this is in response to the litany of litigation that is being levied against Nintendo right now because of Joy-Con stick drift, and this is kind of like part of a pattern that has been happening with Nintendo recently, where like they won't specifically say that they've made mistakes with the Joy-Con. Like they won't say like we fucked up, we sent out a faulty system, but they are saying stuff around that, right? Like they're lowering the price to kind of reflect it. They apologize for some users' experience with the Joy-Cons.
For your inconvenience, I think is the way it was translated.
Right. But there was like a story, last week or something where it's like Nintendo denies that they ever made any mistakes with Joy-Con drift. And the reason for that is because they can get in legal trouble if they like publicly make statements like that, or they get huge fines or whatever. And so it's like if they knowingly put out bad product, right? So I think they're trying to like mitigate the problem and try to appease some people, which isn't enough. Granted, I think that they need to,
100%
essentially recall these definitely. But at the same time, this is another Nintendo move to kind of try to soften the shitstorm that is Joy-Con drift.
The Joy-Cons are overpriced, I think, as a whole. I think that they should be $60 for a pair, $30 each. Honestly, maybe $35 for a single.
I know they have a lot of tech in them, and that's probably why they're priced so high, but a lot of that tech maybe you don't need, or like maybe we'll never need some of it.
Some of the tech doesn't even work that well. Like we're just saying. I mean, like, I have problems with almost every one of my Joy-Cons.
The most important tech, the stick, doesn't work well.
Yep.
My favorite control input method for Breath of the Wild is the IR camera anyway. So, I think it's good that they have it in there.
I love playing 1-2 Switch and just like eating the sandwich, which uses the IR camera. For those of you that have never played 1-2 Switch,
that's worth the extra $15 it costs to manufacture the Joy-Cons.
Well, David, you said the litany of litigation. Yeah, there's another class action lawsuit in the U.S., and I think that's a great point that people don't think about. Of like, why aren't they saying that their Joy-Cons don't work? Probably because they have all these lawsuits going on, and that even if they want to say that would be a bad move, right? Like, I'm not trying to be a Nintendo defender there, but like people like big companies are usually involved in lots of lawsuits, so they usually that's one of the reasons they're careful about what they say.
Yeah, their lawyers are telling them
don't say anything,
exactly what verbiage they're allowed to use without getting in trouble. Yeah,
but so there's that new Joy-Con lawsuit, but there are also some interesting news this week about other, not necessarily lawsuits, but like legal action Nintendo's taking. And just quickly go over these. A TikTok influencer who also has an OnlyFans website, who's formerly known as PokePrincesses or something like, I don't even know how you say it, Princesses.
Hold on, I'm Googling that right now.
They're now known as Digital Princesses. They got a cease and desist because they were like selling merch that had Pokemon on it, and they had OnlyFans with their name being Pokemon, whatever.
Classic Nintendo.
It's just like that Peach hentai game getting
exactly.
taken down.
They're going after the adult Nintendo stuff.
Unfair.
And there was also a Zelda fan game that was made, which I understand was made to like bridge the gap between like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
Whoa.
That was like in that engine, and that got takedown requests or whatever.
It used like the Ocarina of Time engine.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, was it a ROM? So it wasn't a ROM hack. Was it using like source code from the game to make it? Is that how they were able to take it down?
You'd have to dig deeper. I don't know. I think they were able to take it down because they were hosting it on GitHub, like where people, put their code repositories. I don't know where they got the engine stuff from, or even if they built it. I don't know. That's just what the articles I've read said, but it doesn't.
Sure. That's interesting in a couple ways. Not to get too conspiracy theory here, but Nintendo doesn't take down every fan game. Usually when they take down a fan game, it's because they've got something akin to that in the works.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Like the Peach hentai game.
Yeah, just like the Peach hentai game. But obviously like another Metroid 2 remake, and then Super Mario Battle Royale was taken down, and obviously Super Mario Bros. 35 has come out. So maybe that could mean something.
Super Mario Extreme Beach Volleyball too.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I'd love to see, I keep talking about crossover Zelda stuff. I think that this could be cool if they release something. Also, just a PSA, if you're going to be making a fan game, don't talk about it until you release it, okay? Because you will get a strike and be told to take it down, but once it's on the internet,
then it can get
nothing's
shared,
ever really gone. Yeah.
So this is probably not gone. I'm sure you could find this somewhere on like some torrent site or something, but yeah.
Exactly.
Moving away from Nintendo, a couple quick non-Nintendo gaming news items. I just think this one's sad and funny that FIFA 2021 is come out, and I think EA is like taking all the other FIFA games off the eShop, is my understanding. I haven't checked, but that's what I've heard. And that this game is being sold for $50, and it's even in their description it says like it was being released without any new development or significant enhancements from the previous games.
Yeah, so that's like verbatim from the eShop description. Right there.
Yeah,
that's sad. And then I love this little bit of news that IGN put out their review of the last year's game just as if it was this year's game. They purposely
pasted it too. Yeah.
they copy pasted it, but brought the score down 1 point.
That's good.
I'm looking for. I did not hear about the old FIFAs being delisted. If that's true, that's super.
Yeah, I didn't hear that either. That's really messed up if they did that. Yeah, that kind of ties into the story today, though, a little bit, though, about value in games and really $50 for just a reskin, literal reskin.
And I know that some people might think, oh, I'll buy the yearly release because they make updates and it'll have updated rosters and all that, and they may not do their research, and so that's another. What I mean.
I searched for FIFA 20 on the eShop, and the only thing that was coming up was in-game commentary languages DLCs. So it looks like they did remove the old ones, which really sucks because those started getting really cheap before they copy-pasted the game with new names for the players.
Yeah, and this, according to the IGN review, it says that even FIFA 20 was a copy-paste from FIFA 19.
FIFA 19, yeah.
So the review makes sense, even though
EA keeps being like, "We're not going to release games on the Switch because nobody buys our games," and it's like, "Well, dude, fucking put The Sims out, and then you'll start releasing tons of games.
Well, yeah, and there's lots of threads on gaming websites where people are like, "Do not buy FIFA 2021 because." And then, so you're not going to sell it well when
and then it's like it makes you want to boycott every EA game. You know what I mean? Because they do this all the fucking time. Yep. So it's like maybe if you start acting a little pro-consumer, people will start actually purchasing your products. Anyway, it's like the one company I always see boycotted in the video games industry is EA.
That's the thing, totally. Though. I still feel like FIFA 20, even this FIFA 21, I still feel like it's going to sell like hotcakes too.
Yeah, well, it's one of the more popular games, right? Yep. Like, especially around the world, like in other, where soccer is bigger and that kind of thing.
Can't wait for FIFA 2022.
Can't wait for FIFA 2020, 2022.
for the Summer Olympics.
That joke didn't work. Yeah. You get what I'm saying.
And then my favorite news item on the list, Amazon has canceled their game they were developing, Crucible, which they actually already put out and then pulled. And then now they've said they're canceling it. So yeah, they put this game into beta and then like sold stuff, like, because this is like I think it's like a shooter, and they were selling things. And
so this isn't their MMO. This is the shooter.
No. And so one of the things that articles about this have pointed out is that they're pulling all their developers off this to work on the MMO. So obviously they decided that that's where they want to put their
what a shit show, man.
That MMO is called New World.
That's right.
Are people playing that? I haven't heard of anybody that's even into that.
I'm sure they are not. I'm sure they are not.
I can't imagine that this is going to go
I don't know
well
if
either.
it's out yet.
I think it is out, right?
Is it out?
It was supposed to come out in like August or something. I remember, I think it got delayed too.
The fact that we're like talking about it, we're like, did Crucible come out?
Yeah, right.
Is New World out?
Yep.
Like, when are these games coming out? We don't know.
I don't think that it is. It was previously scheduled to come out this year, and it was delayed to next year.
Okay.
After being delayed again, it's like, which is not a big deal. I don't think that's huge. It's 2020. Every game is being delayed, right?
Yep, definitely.
Well, the weird thing about Crucible is that it came out and then was put back in beta after it released, right? And so it's
then canceled.
Right, and then canceled. So so basically, not that any of our listeners are probably thinking about doing this, but don't get Luna, okay? Like, this will happen with all of their shit. Like, they're bringing people over from this game that already was released and putting them on another game which is struggling. Like, Amazon does not know what they're doing in the gaming space, and they jumped in super cocksure thinking they could just do this, and it's a shit show. Like, it's looking worse. I mean, Luna at least makes more sense on paper than Stadia, because Stadia you have to like buy the games, which doesn't really make sense if they're trying to do like a Netflix streaming sort of situation. But at the same time, I don't trust Amazon to not totally fuck up Luna as well. So I think, I just stay away from Amazon. Just use their website to buy video games.
It's a shame that both of these like cool like mega corporations that are that tried, quote unquote, to get into the gaming space have just, it's been such a fucking bust on both sides.
It definitely makes you wish that they had just, and I don't know, maybe Amazon and maybe Google are doing this, but put money into development of games rather than platforms.
Google said they were, but they really haven't put their money or their words where their mouth is. They have like one or two development studios, I think, that they got with like, I thought that like Jade Raymond was working for them now or something.
It's supposed to be. We haven't seen anything from that.
Exactly.
Yet,
yeah.
So
I think they should have let
that's going to be, man.
Surprisingly, the one company that's been doing all right with it is Apple, with Apple Arcade. And I actually recently read an article as well about how Apple's trying to double down on Apple Arcade, and they'll be releasing a controller and Apple TV integration, all this kind of stuff. And so it's like, I mean, but Apple's also like been in making computers, and they've got storefronts for games, so it's not like they're as new to it as Google or Amazon is. You know what I mean?
Do they own
so I think
developers?
That they probably. I think they also they've got like a couple exclusives to Apple Arcade, but a lot of them were timed exclusives.
Yeah, a lot of them were indie games that were timed exclusives.
And
but
they still have like a low barrier to entry with the price point and the subscription model. It's not too bad. And I think they're targeting mobile, right? Like they are mainly looking at people that play games on their phones. So they've kind of got that niche down better than these other ones do. That they were just, I think Amazon and Google were just too all over the place. They didn't know what kind of gamer they were targeting, So we'll see how it all shakes out. But honestly, They should all just give it a break. It's gaming. The gaming industry is hard, and all the people that are doing it now have been doing it for like over 20, 30, 40 years. So just leave it to them.
And our last bit of non-Nintendo news here, in the latest issue, I believe, of Famitsu, somebody from Sega was talking about doing another mini console. Y'all knew this, and I didn't really know much about this. Is there some speculation it might be a Dreamcast, or they said anything's on the table kind of a thing?
Yeah.
Because the Game Gear, the like tiny little Game Gear thing just came out, but that's only in Japan.
The Game Gear Micro just came out. So it was an interview with Yosuke Okunari from Sega. He's the creative producer there. And he was talking about how basically the Genesis Mini, whatever it's called in the different regions, did really, really well for them. Probably better than a lot of stuff has been doing for Sega recently. You know what I mean? And then they just did the Game Gear Micro, which is ridiculous and small, and nobody in the West is getting because it doesn't appeal to us. It's a very Japanese product. It's only being released in Japan. But basically, he was saying like, we'd love to do another mini. We're going to do another mini. We're just trying to now figure out exactly what. There's talks of Master System being thrown around, and some other Sega consoles as well. But he kind of heavily implied that it would be the Dreamcast next. I wouldn't expect it anytime soon, but I think that this is something that they've been wanting to do for a while. And I would not be surprised if they do this. And I would be getting this day one regardless of price.
Fuck it, do them all. Master System, Dreamcast. Let's do them all.
Yeah, but start with Dreamcast. Yep. Let's do Dreamcast first. Yep, let's absolutely. Get a VMU Micro.
That would be so cool to have like a really small one of those memory cards with a really tiny screen. Oh my gosh, that'd be so cute.
We are a Dreamcast podcast
now. And then, like Matt said when he entered the news, we've got a new Splatfest coming. Not new, but this situation is just really funny that they said they were done with Splatfest and they've just continued to rehash these old ones, which is great and the way they should do it. Just keep supporting the game. But we got another Halloween one on October 30th through November 1st. Trick v Treat. I don't know. That's right when Pikmin 3 comes out, so I don't know if I'm going to do it.
Fam, let's check in. Fam, are you listening? Are we Trick or are we Treat?
Trick, baby.
Trick, definitely.
Team Trick.
You can't turn treats on the street.
Hell no. Right? Hell no.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to be playing Pikmin 3. Sorry.
The biggest trick of them all.
Did they do the Mushroom versus Star Splatfest?
That's supposed. They announced that. It's really weird. All those things are like far off. I think that's in January.
Right. Okay.
Like,
so this one's first.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird.
It's one of those things that's like, what is going on with this Mario 35th anniversary? Why is the Animal Crossing furniture coming out in March, and why did they tell us that in September? Yeah.
Either way, that's cool. I'm Team Trick. I'll be playing this.
Cool. And then there was a tease of some Bravely Default info coming soon from Square, which is they haven't announced a delay, but I think this is the announcement of the delay. It'll probably get a release date for like spring? What do y'all think? Anybody want to make a bet? And then will you eat another Game Boy if you're wrong?
No, I'm not eating my Game Boy SP over Bravely Default 2. But I do think that this game will be coming out in March or April.
Yeah, that seems right. And yeah, I was just about to say, David, so Steve from Minecraft is now in Smash. And when I mean now, I mean literally right now when we're...
I am downloading it right now.
Wow. Nice.
This happens every time we record, because we record usually on Tuesday evenings, and where we are, that's when new Smash characters get dropped. And as is tradition, David is downloading it to give you the 1 minute of playtime impression. Yeah.
I'll be if I get a little quiet during our topic of discussion, that's because I'm trying to figure out how Steve works.
And then let us know so everybody out there can know what 1 minute's worth of playtime feels like. And then I think we neglected to mention this, but Overwatch is got a free trial on NSO. So if you subscribe to the Nintendo Online system, you can download Overwatch right now through the 20th and give it a shot. They've been doing more of that in the West, which has been cool because there was this, and there was this Gaia recently. And I think this is a game that makes a lot of sense for them to do that with, right? Like where you aren't going to be able to beat the game because it's a multiplayer.
Yeah, I would love to see this pull in more people
shooters
for the Overwatch community too, or just like even just as a tease for Overwatch 2. I would love to hear anything more about news because it's really kind of slowed down with that game over the past like year or so.
Cool. And so hopefully we'll get more games like that, and that's value out of a subscription model, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but we'll talk a lot about cost of games and sort of the cost versus value and sort of related topics after we take a short break. So this week we are going to be talking all about the cost of games and whether cost can be associated with value and that kind of thing, because it's been announced that at least some AAA next-gen games are going to be $70. And so now we have the question of, is that fair? I think it is. But also, like, do games that are that expensive have an obligation to be a certain length? Or if not that, then what? How do you value video games? Do you hold off on buying these games? All these related issues of like, can we judge value with time? And what about like ports and re-releases and that kind of stuff costing full price, with especially Nintendo doing a lot of Wii U ports, all that kind of stuff. So we will be jumping around a bit between some of those topics, I'm sure. But
a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll start with the sort of the newest news, I guess, which is that $70 is the price for at least some, maybe all AAA next gen games. I'm sure once somebody does it, everybody else is going to do it.
Yeah, pretty much all like full releases seem like they're going to be 70.
Yeah, there are some games that have a $10 markup on PS5, and some of those are Demon Souls, Destruction All Stars, but games like
Cyberpunk,
Miles Morales.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Games like Spider-Man, Miles Morales is $50, and then Sackboy is $60.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is Sackboy 60? I thought Sackboy was going to be 70.
That's interesting.
No, Sackboy is 60.
Oh, wow.
It's funny that 60 is like the new budget title.
Yeah, instead of 50, which was kind of right.
And that's how like Miles Morales is. That's like I guess they compared that one to Uncharted Lost Legacy, right? Which was the $40
that was
budget
a $40
Uncharted.
Yeah. So that's definitely interesting and a little unfortunate. But I will say that realistically, for the amount of time or value that you get out of games, $70 is like a pretty decent price point when compared to other media.
Yeah.
Right.
And
like, I think, and we can get into this a little bit more, but it seems like games have been arbitrarily $60 for several decades now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And while inflation has gone up, game prices haven't.
Right. So like Super Nintendo era games were like $50. And then I don't know exactly when this jump to 60 happened.
The 360 PS3 era was when it first started.
And
that was the first time when it was like next gen. Everything started.
Really?
We're in 64
I felt like PS2 games. I felt like PS1 and PS2 games were $60.
I remember PS1, PS2, and N64 games being $49.99 in the store, and it was. And I remember it being a big deal when they made the $10 jump up to $60.
I'm looking it up. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Well, I know that when you go back to like the NES and Super Nintendo, there was more variance in the pricing, right? Like now it's like if a game is made with like a full team and it's not an indie, it usually goes for 60 regardless, right? Like that's pretty much where it's at these days.
Yep.
And that's going to be changing to 70. I felt like back in the day, you would see some games that were like 30 and then some that were all the way up to even like 90. Like I forget exactly how much Earthbound costs when that came out. I know that came with a player's guide, but still it was like, it was like $80, $90 or something.
I think we still get a little bit of a healthy in between with that. Like Star Wars Squadrons just came out, and that's like a full quote unquote game, and that's $40, right? Yeah. I mean, that's like that's a full triple A. It's more like a double A release, right? I would call double A $40.
I do think EA is on a bit of an apology tour with their Star Wars licenses, so that might have something to do with it as well.
But I mean, that's a good point. It's a smaller game. Like I played that game, and it's a smaller game. The campaign I haven't finished, but I've heard it's short. And the multiplayer, there's 2 modes. So I mean, like to that end, it kind of makes sense to me that it's a $40 game, right? Yeah. And I get the value of $40 for that game. I would. I'm not sure I would say I'd be like upset if I paid $60 for that game, but I mean, I can see why they do charge $40 for it too. And it's also cool that game doesn't have DLC or microtransactions.
Well, maybe we'll talk about that in a second. But I think I'm supportive of this because I think that games cost more to make now. If they haven't gone up with inflation, like if you look at the cost of a Super Nintendo game and compared it to inflation, it would probably be close to $70 or whatever. And in general, I don't think there's been this way for a long time, so it's fair. I think. I mean, generally,
I agree with you on most games. Like, I think AAA games that really like live up to the name, like quote AAA unquote. I think that 100%. I agree. $70. I'm happy to shell out $70 for the new Naughty Dog game, for the new Insomniac game. I know that whatever they did, like you can look at the cost, like the financials, to kind of prove, like exactly like you said, that it didn't, that like their cost to make games went up with inflation while we're still paying the same $60 per game, right? I find myself like, I when it went up to $60, I remember being like, that's kind of bullshit. Why am I paying $10 more for the same video game? But I mean, like, I got used to it. These days, I don't mind paying $60 for a game because like, I get so much out of games as a medium, like David was mentioning before, that I'm honestly happy to do it. And I find myself in the exact same position. And I was thinking about that when I was thinking about this podcast, and like the topic itself, kind of like, wow, I've really found myself like, wow, I can't believe games are going to be $70 now. and I think it really also, like, one, it depends on the game, but two, I mean, like, if they can hit me with some killer new titles that I'm like, happy to pay $70 for, like if the new God of War just absolutely smacks it out of the park, then you know what? I'm sure I will be in the same position now as I was about $60 games, 10 years ago.
But not FIFA 2021, right?
Exactly. And that's like the bad side of this, right? And I listed a few examples of things that I could name that I think are specific examples of this, like sports games. One. Yeah. I feel like pretty much lately all sports games have just been reskins. It's not just limited to FIFA 2021. Pretty much.
Well, it's like we've been putting out sports games for so long. It's like, what do you even do to like make a fresh sports game?
But I mean, like they don't even bother to update. Like they'll forget to update like banners of textures of like of stuff on the Madden games, and that's not even FIFA 2021. That's like Madden on the PS4. They'll forget to change out like from last year's jerseys, and you'll see stuff that just says Madden 17 and the Madden 18 game. And I mean, like, that's kind of ridiculous for a $60 game.
Well,
when you could just pay the old one. What were your other? I haven't paid for a Madden game in forever.
What were your other examples of things that it doesn't feel fair for?
So bad examples. One, I think VR, a lot of VR games, and I think that there's some VR games that could prove this point wrong, that I would love to check out. So please send recommendations as far as that goes. But as far as a lot of the VR games that I played that are specifically like VR experiences, and I'm not talking about like Resident Evil 7 or something like that is another AAA experience that you can play in VR, but isn't necessarily some VR game. I'm talking about like a $30, like the Batman game, right? That was like a $30 Batman VR game that you probably can play for 2 hours and see everything that's in the game. The Rick and Morty game.
VR is kind of its own whole topic to really cover as far as price is concerned, because it's there is like if you're on the Oculus Quest and Facebook has the Quest marketplace down locked, right? Like they control everything. Like there's like a minimum amount. Like there are no games that are under 20 really on Quest, which is ridiculous because a lot of those games are like really like $2 or $3 games that you would have on other platforms. But then also at the same time, I mean, how much was Half-Life Alyx, Matt? Do you know how much that game is?
It retails for $60, but it comes for
$60.
They sell it.
Okay, so Okay, so it is 60. Okay,
Yes.
so I was going to say I thought that game was a little cheaper because I think that people also have an expectation that VR games will be more experiences. Like for instance, you were talking about Star Wars Squadrons.
Yep.
You know, like that's like really a VR game that you can also play on your computer, right? Like I feel like that was designed with VR in mind, right? Which is why I feel like it's at that $40 price point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, you're not wrong. It's bullshit how high a lot of VR stuff is, and I think it's because it's still the Wild West, and we're figuring out like the best way to like price those games, and they know they can get away with it because people want to show it off to their friends.
And I can see that. I can totally give some VR games a pass for that, especially with like VR devs if they're investing a lot of time and money and equipment and stuff to have to actually put this stuff out. You know, like it's if it means we're getting more VR content put out in the long run, then to that end, I'm happy to support it. But I still think that there's like, room for a game like Half-Life Alyx, which I've heard is an actual AAA full worth the $60 game.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
I think is the only person on earth to have played that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm one happy person on earth to play Half-Life Alyx.
I hear it's great. Yeah. Everyone says it's amazing, but
it is really good. I think like just want to take this moment just to like zoom out because we're talking about VR as a platform has its own expectations and its own evaluation of cost versus value. And we are just the video game market's so huge. And we also, Patrick, you just said that game development is increasing, but also the market is increasing too. So that there are more gamers and there are enough gamers where we have multiple platforms. We have VR, we have smartphone games, we have Nintendo Switch, we have Xbox, PS5, indies. We have whole markets that can one video game market, but can support multiple platforms.
Yeah.
And how we kind of gauge cost versus value, as Jeremy, as you said, like VR is its own evaluation.
It's also like mobile is too, right? Like that there would be a whole different discussion about microtransactions and stuff, which we might talk a little bit about, but yeah.
Yeah, and mobile's an interesting thing too that I didn't really put much thought into here, but I mean, like mobile, you can get a lot out of a mobile game that you pay $5 for. I mean, some of those because you'll end up paying for DLC and stuff like that, and just ads too.
I mean, there are games that are $1 on phones that are $20 on Switch.
Exactly.
You know, this is not even
like
taking into account the Switch tax.
Among Us
right?
is $5 on PC, and it's totally free on phone.
And that's because people are used to either free-to-play games on mobile or paying 99 cents at the absolute max for mobile games.
The expectation.
You know? And so it's like, right. And so that's something that we could probably extrapolate to a lot of the other gaming industry as to some of the arbitrary pricing nature of this, right? Is that like, a lot of times games are priced with what they know they can get away with. Right, like Nintendo famously bungled. Nintendo famously bungled the Super Mario Run release by putting the game all in one package and charging $10 for it, because that's how they've historically made games. Right, is you buy the game and you have it. But that's not what people want on mobile. People aren't ready to shell out $10 for a mobile game, right? Even if it is fully featured like that and doesn't have paid in-game app purchases. Like, so this shows it's like. And then you see, obviously, as well, like on the eShop, you know, the indie developers don't make any money unless they deep discount their games for like $2 or less. And then they do make that money back because enough people are buying it. So it all comes down to like the audience for whatever platform you're on, I think, for the most part. And I think, you know, people are used to paying premium prices for premium experiences on, say, you know, for first party Nintendo games or consoles, you know. And so I think they just know they can get away with it. And so they do it. Now, that's not to say that these games aren't worth that amount of money. I think that a lot of games that are sold for dirt fucking cheap by indie teams on the Switch deserve to make more money for each game that they sell. But that's just not the nature of the marketplace and of the audience.
That's a great point right there. Yeah. Is that it really depends on the audience too.
Yeah, I think one of the games that you're maybe referring to or talking about that I thought of, David, is like NBA 2K21, which will be a $70 game. And I watched videos of it, and it looks incredible. And it's running on next gen hardware. But I think people are going to pay for it. People are going to spend the $70 on the next sports game. But I don't know if it's worth $70.
I mean, not when right before 2K22 fucking it goes for $3 on sale.
Yeah.
I got 2K19 for like $3 on the Switch a while ago.
The Switch.
Yeah. And if it's gonna be just like roster updates with roulettes and shit, like I'm not gonna buy the new one every time.
Exactly, dude. And those games have just become lotto sims anyway at this point, which is like a whole nother thing. Like, what's the value in that?
Let's talk about that.
Paying $70. Why pay $70 just to like gamble again into like loot boxes too?
One of the ways that, games have made extra money to make up for, I think, the fact that their costs have gone up, but game prices have stayed the same, is DLC and microtransactions and those sort of loot boxes and stuff. And I don't think games going up to $70 is going to get rid of that stuff at all. But it does add an extra factor in as a consumer to be like, now I might think twice about DLC if I'm already paying a little more up front, or it better be worth it then, which we did a whole episode on DLC. So I don't want to spend too much time on this. I recommend people go back and listen to that because we kind of talked about some of the cost value stuff for DLC there. But I do think that it ties into this in a great way because it's so ubiquitous that there's going to be a DLC. And then, if the game like NBA 2K21 is $70 and then you're going to have to spend, I don't know, however much money to get whatever roster because of all the loot box stuff, that's harder to take.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Like games like Fortnite come out and they're free and they make money off of battle passes and costumes. Yeah. But then there are games that are $60 that still have battle passes and skins that you can buy. And it's like, where's the difference there? I guess, is it just one is way more popular and they can afford to have it be free?
Right.
Is it only more popular because it's free? These are difficult questions to answer, I think.
Well, before we move away, Jeremy, did you have another example of games you don't feel are worth $70 before?
Yeah, one other one that I kind of wanted to talk about were like service games, right? Like I had two examples on this list, and not to say all service games, but like Destiny, I think is my top example of this. Destiny is a game that I feel like I paid for 5 times for the same game. Like literally, I feel like no matter what, like I'm like, man, I paid for Destiny $60. Okay, that's cool. That when they announced Destiny, they're like, this is going to be a 10-year experience, right? This is going to be a platform. Destiny's going to be a platform, and then turns out I have to pay for a season pass for Destiny, and
it's
then
exactly
a second
what
season
Dave
pass
was talking about,
for Destiny.
Yeah.
Yep. And then Destiny 2 comes out, and it's like, oh man. They told me that I was going to have like 10 years of Destiny, and it's like, oh, I'm paying $60 again. And then they also released those $40 expansions in the fall. And if you don't like pay for those expansions, you're basically out of the Destiny experience.
Yeah, because everybody's playing together online. Yep. Yeah, and you have to be caught up. That's a good point.
I think that is a really bad example of value. I think that Destiny should not only be free to play, but like those expansions should be free to play too. They really need to adopt something like the Fortnite model or the Apex model where like people can jump in and then they can pay for maybe some premium content or something, but like they need to have the content like on equal footing for everybody.
That game is talked about in Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. One of the more interesting chapters, actually, by the way, because that development was a mess. And I think that's why, because they like why Destiny 2 came out is they had to make a deal with the publisher to like put out a second game and to actually get the first game finished. Anyway,
the trajectory of Bungie as a company is insane to look at in general. Yeah, but that's a whole nother topic.
Sorry. Go ahead, finish it.
But besides Destiny, like I just got done playing the Avengers. I'm almost done with the story mode. Oof. I've done a bit of the online.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Hey, yeah, exactly, dude. I paid $60 for this game, man. I paid $60 for this game, and it's like the campaign probably lasted 5 hours. I would say like 5 hours, and there's multiplayer, but honestly, the multiplayer is dead. So
I've heard on PC there's less than 1,000 players concurrently.
I'm playing on PS4, and it's supposed to have crossplay.
Yeah,
I can barely find anybody. The only times I've been able to find anybody, and it was way closer to launch when I had to wait for minutes, like 5 to 10 minutes to find people to play another repetitive grind mission for loot that doesn't matter. So I mean, like to that extent, it's like, why did I just pay $60 for this game? And as far as value goes, it's like, why do I pay $60 for this game when I know that a game like this is going to be on sale for $30 or $40 in the future, or maybe even free.
I was going to say
the Anthem story. Well, basically the Anthem story.
Anthem. I was going to bring up Anthem as well. Yeah,
there's a lot of games where the development is such a mess, and then they release the game in the state, like you're talking about, for $60, and then they fix the game later. Diablo 3, Destiny. Like, there's a lot of examples of this. Maybe they'll fix the Avengers, maybe not. But like, where if you had just been patient, and you could have gotten it for cheaper and had the better experience and all that later.
Man, it's almost like games as a service was always a terrible anti-consumer idea. Yeah.
And if you might have gotten it cheaper, you might have enjoyed it more too. It's crazy how that works.
I think we'll talk more about that sale aspect later. To keep us moving along, though, I wanted to ask, since next gen PS5 and Xbox Series games are going to be $70, do you think this is going to trickle down to Steam or to Nintendo for are the games going to go up? Do you think Nintendo will price? I don't know.
100%. They changed to $60 just like 360 and PS3 did.
Do you win then? Do you think do you think it'll be
Is this part of the episode where we talk about the Switch Pro?
Yeah, is it the Switch Pro? I think that would be
I think that would be their first opening point. I would be surprised if they don't take that opportunity to jump in there and do it then. Yeah.
Or Breath of the Wild 2 or something. Yeah, sorry.
That's what's happening in March. Yeah, it's like Mario All-Stars is being pulled down and then being put back up
$70
with Galaxy 2
or without.
Or without. Yeah, but it's like that actually does make sense, because I was going to say it's like they're like midway through the cycle of the Switch's life cycle, right? Like, you have to imagine that if they're not, they're maybe not even halfway through, because I think they want to do the Switch for a while. But it's like, if everybody else is price hiking, you can't just in the middle of your life cycle put it out. But if you put out a pro system like that, I could definitely see them pulling it like that. I mean, I don't think that they would change the games that are already out. I really don't think they would do that. I think that people would be so pissed. Maybe you guys don't see that as rosy as I do, but I do think you're right. I think maybe if you're buying games to play on the Switch Pro, it's $70. I don't know.
I don't think they should.
That's rough.
Yeah, I don't think they should, because like you said, like Microsoft and Sony didn't do it when they made their Pro consoles. I think if that's what they're really going to do, they should wait until they have something that's worth $70 to show. Like this really costs $70 to develop, because I mean, let's be real. The games that they're developing now aren't as technically savvy as the games that are being put out.
I would prefer they overhaul NSO and charge double for that than to 100%. Make games more expensive. They'll make more money anyway that way, because they've got like tens of millions of subscribers on that. You know what I mean? So it's not really necessary for them to do it, I think, but I think inevitably eventually they will. I just don't know how soon. But I think you guys are onto something with that Switch Pro price hike.
Well, kind of on this topic, and this might go down a deeper rabbit hole of like, we've been talking about like value and cost, and if something is worth $70, and I'm very curious how you kind of measure that value, because there's something like Untitled's Goose Game, which was like 15 or 20 bucks. Mm-hmm. So it's $20.
It was 15 right when it came out.
Yeah. Happy to pay $20, and it continued to give and give with memories and with friends and memes and Super Switch Headz Facebook group. I would have paid 30, maybe 40, but I'm not sure. I think 30 could have been good.
Yep.
But that was because everyone was playing it all at one time, and it felt like really a game that we're all playing together. So for me, I kind of value a game if other people are playing it. Can I share that experience with other people? And I think an opposite of that is, Jeremy, what you talked about, Avengers. Like, I know it's not going to be worth $60, but I still kind of want to play it. But there's a seeking suspicion, because I know it's going to be a short game. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
But curious what y'all think about how you all measure value.
Well, I wanted to shout out James West for making a joke about this when on our Facebook group. He made a post about Fire Emblem Three Houses being on sale for $50, and that's like $2 per house per hour or something like that. But there is a very common way that people value games with time. And I know, Matthew, you don't particularly love this for the kind of reasons you're hinting at here, but it's an easy way to value it, right? Like it is a quantifiable way to value it.
But that's a really dangerous path to go down, I think, because then it makes then it's like any game like, say, Inside or Limbo or something like the Playdead games, you know, then those should only be like $5 if you go by that method. You know, it's
what's the equation?
I think. Go ahead. You had something, Jeremy?
Well, I think that like one cost has a lot to do with it, right? I think it has to, right? In the modern day, like how much you pay for a game, it does have to have quite a bit to do with it. I think time has to have a lot to do with it too, but to the extent where you're paying $200 for like a JRPG, I don't think that matters as much. I also think that like another big part of it should be how much like time per developer and cost per developer, right, was spent for the game itself, right? Like how much did it cost to actually make the game?
Rather than like the gameplay experience is the game development experience.
Yeah. Like the actual cost to make the game, and like how much is it going to cost to recoup our actual funds?
Yeah, but
that
then
rewards bad devs, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say then it's like then Duke Nukem Forever should be a $500 game.
But is Duke Nukem is Duke Nukem Forever Duke Nukem Forever was a $60 game, and did it sell enough to make another Duke Nukem? I mean, I don't think
if it
so.
was priced higher, it wouldn't sell anymore, though, right?
The point is that game was developed for like 10 years, is what I'm saying, and it's like, and so I'm just saying it's like you run into tricky situations with all of these, right? Because there are games that have like care and love put into them that you can beat in 3 hours, like Untitled Goose Game, or maybe even less than 3 hours. Really, it's like an hour and a half long game. Like I personally would not pay $30-$40 for Untitled Goose Game. I don't even think I paid $15 for it. I think I played somebody else's copy.
I didn't.
But it's like,
I didn't get it right at launch, and I paid $20. And I think to beat it, it was 3 hours for me with my wife and kid. And we've since gone back and played a little bit, but that was right on the edge for me. Of like we had, I think Matthew, you've used this as an example. Like we had this shared great experience around this game. Our community went nuts about it. It was a huge global phenomenon. It's a great game, and I want to support people making different kind of games like this. So I'm not like upset about spending $20, but it felt a little bit like, man, I don't know.
And I think a lot of rather than length of the game, something that I think is a better gauge of value for me anyway is replayability. And it doesn't mean that it needs a new game plus necessarily. It just means that the game is fun enough to where you just want to go back and play it again, you know, and that could be, you know, and maybe that is Goose Game for you, right? Like I didn't feel the need to replay Goose Game personally.
It wasn't,
but
no, I think,
not for me.
I only went back because of the multiplayer, which again, I think I said this last week. I don't think they added enough to make it worth it.
Right. And that's to each their own. Like, and that's why this is such a complicated subject, is because this is all subjective.
Yeah, totally.
Right. It's like,
totally.
And so putting a price on something that's subjective is like an art teacher having to give a grade for someone's art project. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, exactly. It's hard to put value on it, but it's like for my money, it's like, if I'm paying $60 or, you know, $60 for a game that's 6 hours long, like, it better be fun to go back and play that game in the future. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to pay $60 for 6 hours and then just call it, you know what I mean? And never touch the game again.
Or those 6 hours better stick with me. Which is another thing. The impact of a game could be a big part of it, not just the enjoyment, but like, man, I think about it, or that experience or whatever.
Yep. 100%. I think all those things kind of tie in with each other, right? Like impact does kind of tie in with how much I enjoy it. Like specific games I can think about like that were like the PS4 God of War, right? Like games like that, I'll go through and I'll play through in a weekend, start to finish. $60 games when it comes out. And it's like, man, I have absolutely no regret on paying $60 for that. I can't wait to pay $60 for the next God of War, right? And to do the exact same thing and basically play through a weekend. And it kind of ties in with what David said about replayability, right? There may not be any like specific like new game plus mode, or there probably is that I want to go through, but like I certainly wouldn't mind going through and playing that game again, start to finish, and getting
and there are games that like that I won't play again that I paid $60 for, but I feel better having paid $60 because there is a new game plus. You know what I mean? It's like I'm never gonna do that probably. I don't go back and replay that many games, but it feels good knowing that if I ever want to, it's there in my library and I can have a different.
Or there were a bunch of side missions I didn't do or whatever.
Right.
Well, we have so much on these show notes for this topic that I don't want to, if anybody really wants to hit something, but I did want to mention this before we move on a little bit, which I think is obvious to anyone who's ever been to a movie theater. But like, if you compare games to other medium, like reading a book or going to a movie, unless you read really slowly or you watch a movie or you hide out in the theater and go to another one or whatever, games are pretty per hour good deal, especially at $60. Even if the average length of a AAA $60 game probably 10-15 hours, like something like that, maybe.
And time notwithstanding, it's movies aren't interactive.
Yeah.
That has its own value, right? Is the interactivity of games.
No multiplayer movies.
So I just think that's worth mentioning, that like I don't want to nitpick game too much for this. I think you get a lot of enjoyment out of it, but unless anyone has anything to respond to on that point or anything else, I think we should move in.
No, that's a good point. I mean, it's its own thing, and it's hard to compare them, but when you do, the value becomes clear.
Let's talk about Nintendo for a minute, because we're a Nintendo podcast. Nintendo games are often, first party games are often $60, and they usually, except for their few budget ones, and they usually stay that way. They don't go on sale very much. And then lately they've been doing these Wii U ports for $60, which has caused a stir among some Nintendo fans. And I think we talked about Pikmin 3 being an example of maybe that's worth it because of all the stuff they've added in these deluxe versions. But then there are some games where it didn't feel quite as fair. And then there's 3D All-Stars, which is just kind of a straight port of these 3 games, but it's 3 games. So I don't know. Do y'all have any thoughts about any of that? I just kind of quickly went over in terms of Nintendo games. Do they feel?
Yeah, I think the ports are too expensive.
Yeah.
I think they should be $50 each at the most. Tops.
I think they should be as well. Yeah. But again, this comes down to a thing with audience.
What you can get away with, like you said.
And Nintendo can and will get away with it, and they could get away with doing these for $70 too.
They could.
It's like,
that doesn't make it
they
right.
Could.
Though.
It doesn't make it right. And I feel like a battered housewife saying this, but it's like, Nintendo games like are really good and oftentimes worth the money. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm paying to emulate 3 old games with Super Mario 3D All-Stars, but goddamn if those aren't some of the best games like ever made. You know what I mean? And it's like Nintendo's like seal of quality they've been able to hold since the NES days compared to like a lot of the other companies. And so I think there's a reason that they don't go on sale a lot. Although that having been said, I think more recently you are seeing them dip down quite a bit, especially on third-party resellers like Amazon.
I think to your point of the quality, Nintendo just gets gameplay right. We talk about games being a unique medium and the interactivity and the gameplay is the unique part. And Nintendo, more than any other big company, I think, gets gameplay and gets how to do it. And that's why it feels like their games might be worth it, because they're fun to play, not just a cool story, or very rarely are they a good story, but
You want to talk about the inherent replay value, like not even like new modes and stuff like that. Nintendo games just have good game feel, right? And so you just want to go back and move
jump around as
Mario, Yeah, exactly.
Or just pick up Zelda again. It's been like 3 years since I beat Zelda. Wow, why don't I just start playing it again?
I was just thinking that this week.
Exactly. They have a way of doing that. That's why they're Nintendo, man. That's why they're Nintendo.
It is nice to see the Pikmin 3 Deluxe Edition looking better, and the Mario 3D World. We don't know what this extra mode is, but they did do a lot of gameplay tweaks to likely make it look more fun, and they added online. So I think those ones feel like they might be worth $60. To me, also, never having had a Wii U, I'm willing to, which I know I'm part of the problem, but
it just sucks having had a Wii U, and it's like, man, I paid $60 for literally every single one of these games already. So
the worst offender. The worst offender of this, I think, is Donkey Kong.
They
Country,
changed nothing.
Tropical Freeze.
Except for they
added the easy mode. The funky.
No, they didn't even add Cranky Kong. They added Funky Kong, which was just an easy mode. And then, and that's a super offender because when that game came out on the Wii U, it was $50,
right?
And then it was $60 on the Switch.
Wow.
So and that's one where they could have definitely, and they should have bundled the original Donkey Kong Country Returns with that game.
Yeah.
And I would have been way happier with that too.
Yeah, that would have been a great deal at that point. I would have felt really good about spending that money. But again, I'm a fucking cuck, and I did buy that, even though I had it on the Wii U. You know, it's tough. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, it sucks. Like, because I know this about myself, that I'm part of the problem, but it's just Nintendo knows this about me too, and that's why they keep doing this.
And that's why we're going to see $70 games with the Switch Pro.
And here we are doing it, free advertising for them, getting paid jack shit. Don't even get review codes. Because we say fuck on our podcast.
How much is Labo? Is Labo still $100?
Labo is gone. No,
that shit is
sale.
That shit is
hardcore,
deep discounted.
Which is like we talked about. Nintendo games don't go on sale very often, or they have recently, but like
unless they're cardboard.
But if you are patient on other platforms, usually those games do go on sale. And even like indie games and stuff go on sale a lot. And I know there was some thread, David, you even linked to it on Twitter, of some game dev that was like that pointed out that really sales are what's driving their sales or whatever.
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of that is due to the eShop is just like horribly curated and maintained. And so you can't really get visibility unless you're on a super deep discount, which ends up making the developers money, but it really devalues the product and like makes it to where you don't want to pay full price for future releases from that developer. Yeah. And so it's not a great solution, but the numbers are there. Like, that's the only way that a lot of these indies are able to make any money.
Like a recent example of that is Killer Queen Black, which went into deep discount. What it was, like $2 or $3?
It was $2.
It was $2. Wario 64, who we talk about, always tweets discounts, and the comment section was people filled with, "This game's great, you should get it. This game's great, you should get it. You should get it." And it probably increased sales. But it also makes me kind of sad for the developers.
Yeah.
That's kind of the Switch owners kind of expect.
And that's a tough one too, because it's a multiplayer game, so you need a player base. And so when they're if somebody does pay full price for your game and then they can't get a match, they would feel pretty disappointed.
Fortunately for Killer Queen, it's cross-platform multiplayer, which helps. You know what I mean, for indies. But indie multiplayer games, man, that's tough. That's tough. Can we quickly talk about Game Pass?
Yeah,
I was gonna.
Let's jump ahead. We talked a little bit about Apple Arcade and like Luma and stuff like that, and when in the news. But yeah, let's talk about subscriptions, because what does that do for value of a game? What is the value of Game Pass? That kind of thing.
It throws a wrench in this whole fucking discussion. Yep. I'll tell you that.
Definitely. Yeah.
What were you going to say, Jeremy?
So I read a quote like a week or two ago from one of the top bigwigs at Sony that somebody was like a news dude was asking him, like, why don't y'all put more of your first party games onto PlayStation Now, or why aren't like more of your first party PlayStation games available on like streaming day one, basically? And they were basically like, it was basically a question like, why, like, against Game Pass, right? Like David was saying. And their response was basically like, our games are not like they're worth more than as $10
prestige.
So, exactly. It was a shot at Game Pass, and it's like, one, kind of fuck you. Like, no, they're not. Like y'all like what? So I thought about that, and like, one, Netflix paid $200 million for like The Irishman, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a great example of like a movie that's still a blockbuster movie that like still came out and was still like great, right? Or great,
sure,
according to some people. But like, it was a good example of a movie that cost a lot of money to make and costed a lot of money to distribute too. And it's kind of like Sony is really far up their own ass right now with that, when Microsoft really is offering a lot with Game Pass. I can kind of see what Sony is saying though, because like in my eyes, Microsoft hasn't really put out a AAA game that's worth paying $60 for in value in several years. The only one I can think of is Gears of War 5. Mm-hmm. That's the only one that I can think of. They've put out a lot of other smaller games like Sea of Thieves, which in my eyes, if I were to pay for it, it's not. If I had to like throw a number on it, $40. That's what it seems like to me.
To counter your Netflix analogy, though, Netflix, and I think this is the risk of Game Pass doing this too, right? That they are going to have a lot of data, and Netflix has all this data about their shows, and they cancel shows like crazy that aren't after one or two seasons, which historically networks find that sometimes it takes a couple seasons for a show to get its footing, right? And I know that this isn't an exact analogy, but like, is Microsoft going to start realizing it's not worth it to spend this amount of money for this game that we put on Game Pass because it gets only this many downloads and yada yada yada, and like, you know,
I think that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, that's a great question, because Microsoft canceled a bunch of really high profile games this generation, and it wasn't necessarily when they were making this huge push for Game Pass, but they canceled like Scalebound. That game, they canceled
R.I.P. Scalebound.
Yep, R.I.P. Scalebound. I can't think of any other game off the top of my head, but there were several other high profile Microsoft cancellations at the first party level.
Halo Infinite. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, it's a very interesting thing that Game Pass brings to the table as far as the conversation about value of games is concerned. I think that we're looking at a couple inevitabilities with Game Pass here. I think that well, first of all, I do want to say Game Pass, like, seems like it is, at least right now, like impossible to fail at the moment if they follow at least closely enough the Netflix model. You know, like Netflix makes so much fucking money from subscriptions that I totally see why they want to do it, and I totally see why you can give all this incredible value for such a seemingly low monthly subscription price, right? And more power to them. But also there is the fact that like Netflix does operate in the red, you know, like every month, you know, like because they do spend so much and they do get all this shit. And so it's like we don't know exactly how Netflix is ultimately going to play out. You know what I mean? It's like it's kind of this like always shifting of debt and profit, you know, back and forth with Netflix, to where it's like, where it sounds great to investors and you get a lot of people on board, and it's super pro consumer, you know, like Netflix having so many options available to you for a low price. But it's like at the same time, you know, this is gonna be great in the short term. In the long term, the only thing I know is that this is probably going to kill normal game sales. I mean, when's the last time you bought a Blu-ray? You know what I mean? It's like with all these subscription services, like it's totally killed one-off movie purchases other than going to the theater, which is dying now, by the way, with COVID. Disney just restructured. So it's like, anyway, I'm kind of going on a lot of different tangents, but what I'm trying to say is like,
it's a fair point.
I think there's a couple inevitabilities, and one of them is that like this whole conversation we're having is moot, because I think eventually everything will be streaming until it all burns up with the heat death of the universe.
But then at that point, so I feel like Game Pass is geared toward AA games right now. I do. I feel like that's just like the truth of it. It's geared toward AA games and very old AAA games. Games that are on discount.
Where does like Bethesda play into that? I mean, they just spend a shit ton of money on that.
That's a new thing, and I'm interested to see how that plays out. I am. That is kind of the curveball in this whole thing, right? That's Microsoft's kind of first real big, like we have AAA games. And, you know, like that's the thing. Are they going to put their games on PlayStation 5 still to try and make more money off of that?
I don't think so.
No, I think they said they'd analyze it on a case-by-case basis, which to me means that no.
But no, they're not.
You know?
No.
I think,
Matt, did you have something?
Yeah, another model that we have to look at Game Pass is kind of what Microsoft's doing for Flight Simulator. And the experiences are different based on the cost. So if you play Flight Simulator from Game Pass, you have some of the airports and some of the planes, but not all. But if you spend money like $60 or $80, or the platinum version's like $120 or something, you get all the airports, all of the updates indefinitely. So
that's the Disney Plus model, right? The extra $30 for Mulan.
I think we'll see. If we have games, maybe it is a Bethesda game. Maybe it's a new Fallout or new Elder Scrolls, where we have some of it is on Game Pass, but then you spend
part of the map or whatever,
$10 or $15 to get, you know, whatever the other cities
DLC or whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
That's frightening.
It totally is. Yeah. But it's happening right now, David.
Well, unless somebody has something to respond to that, I think we should wind down the conversation with. I want to give everybody a chance to say anything else on the topic as a whole.
My last thing that I'll say is, what happens when all these subscription services as well start increasing in price too? Like, what is the value in these services too?
Or when you have to buy bundles of them, like cable, right? Like Sony will inevitably do
YouTube
TV. Well.
Yeah, everybody's increasing in per month subscription price. So who knows how long it'll be? Like Game Pass Ultimate is like they're phasing out their yearly model, right? Mm-hmm. It's just getting more expensive to do that too. So I mean,
it's crazy, man. I mean. I don't envy game developers right now.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? And like, yeah,
especially like AAA ones. But I would love a world where we still get to see AAA games like Cyberpunk and Last of Us 2 and stuff like that still coming out on a regular basis and not crippled by this.
My last piece would be that, setting aside the streaming stuff, because that does potentially change a lot of this talk. That I think if you're strapped for cash, then this is a tough thing to say, but I'm all for supporting game developers to this point. And that is like, I'm happy if I don't want the game developers to crunch. I don't want people to get sick making the things I enjoy. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't want people to make my clothes in terrible conditions. I'm happy to pay a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so I just want to put that out there, and that especially when you compare it to other mediums and stuff, I know sometimes it's hard, that we're getting a lot of enjoyment out of these things. And so that's sort of my piece on it.
Sure. Yeah. I agree.
Just, kind of thinking about, we're a Nintendo podcast, obviously you're listening right now for a Nintendo fan. I was thinking what you've said, David, when you continue to call yourself a cuck. I think Nintendo is anti-consumer in the fact that they limit access to their games, and create this kind of scarcity, which makes us all suckers. Mm-hmm. Like for Sunshine, came out on the GameCube, and you have to buy a GameCube to play it again. And I'm not going to do that. Most people aren't going to do it. And so they kind of stretch out this amount of time until they can resell it, like what happened this year. Mm-hmm. And we pay the money for it because the scarcity creates this manufactured value. And like for me, David, you and I talk about Chrono Cross all the time. Mm-hmm. I would gladly pay $60-$70 for a new Chrono Cross, but even a remaster of Chrono Cross. That's just because we haven't had it, and I think that makes me and us suckers.
Mm-hmm. I think that one thing that can mitigate this, and I think something that even though I do this, like I still buy old games, but it's like, I've got one of these like retro handheld gaming devices that you play like ISOs and ROMs on, and like old stuff. Like I don't feel the need to buy every re-release of every game because I still have the old systems. And so because of that, I don't feel a lot of remorse for like downloading a ROM of that game because I owned this game in the past. You know what I mean? Like, so I can play like old games on modern hardware if I want. And even new games. It's like, I don't know. I guess the point I'm trying to make is it comes down to what. Oh man, I actually don't know what point I'm trying to make. It's a really complicated subject, and we've been talking for a long time.
Yeah,
and I think like I don't know. I just think that like the video game industry and games in general is such a varied kind of medium, right? It's like, at least with most movies or TV shows, you've got like a 3-act structure of storytelling, and there's like dialogue beats and all this normal, but games can be wildly different from thing to thing. So putting value on it is so difficult, and it so comes down to just the kind of shit that you enjoy, what you're comfortable spending your money on, and what you're not. And it's like, and there's always going to be fucking pirates that get around paying whatever they want for anything. You know what I mean? And like that stuff is always going to be there. I'm not saying go out and pirate everything if you think a game is too expensive. That's not the point I'm trying to make. But it's just like there's so much variety that there's something there for everybody. And it's like, if you want to just play the fucking indie games and pay a little bit and get a shit ton of games and a bunch of different experiences, you have that available to you. If you want to play the Modern Warfares and play with all your friends and spend the money, like, you can get value out of that too. It all just comes down to your personal preference. And so it makes it kind of like a futile event to try to lump it all together like we've been doing on this episode. But still, I think it's worth talking about and just kind of shining a light on that. But that's, I don't know if that made any sense, but that's kind of my thought on it.
I think it did. It's know thyself, right?
Right.
Know what you enjoy and spend money on those kind of experiences.
To thine own self-value.
All right, let's stop there. Great talk, y'all. We'd love to hear what you think about value and cost in games. If you agree with us or disagree, please let us know. And then we'll take a real quick break right now and come back and tell you about the games that we've been playing. Real quick, we played some Smash as a group on Discord the other night. That was a lot of fun. Thanks to everybody who came out on the Super Switch Headz Discord and played Smash. And while we're talking about Smash, then did David or Matthew, did y'all have a chance to play Steve?
Yeah.
Do y'all want to talk about that now?
Sure. I played a little bit of, I played one match with Steve. So I would say more than 1 minute. I'd say about
so you were an
expert. 3
expert.
minutes. Yes, I'm an expert. I'll say right now, Steve is more fun than I thought he'd be. I knew he'd be unique and difficult to grasp and interesting. But Steve actually feels really good to me. I only played on the Minecraft stage, but the mining mechanic works really fast, and then the crafting is all pretty self-explanatory. You do all this stuff with the B button, and he just feels good to move around with. His jump is short, but it doesn't feel too short to me. You know what I mean? It feels like he feels like he fits in Smash while not looking like he fits in Smash at all. Yeah. So that's my 1 minute review. Yeah.
Did you play any of Steve, Matthew?
Just a little bit. I played one match. Feels cool.
There you go.
We'll talk more about it next week.
Yeah. Well, and then in terms of games that I played, I really haven't been playing a ton. I talked about the Pikmin 3 demo, which I loved, and then I've been playing more Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And thanks to our Discord too, because I felt like I was going insane in this game. I just don't like. I like the game. I'm into it now, but navigating the world in this game is a pain. I keep getting lost, and
so big.
And I'm like, am I dumb? Because this compass thing is confusing. And then I was very happy to have multiple people on the Discord be like, I wasted a ton of time going in circles too. And Matthew, you were one of them. So that made me feel better. And I've accepted that.
Yeah.
And
because you're like inside that Titan.
Yes.
And that level's just huge.
There's so many just vertical like routes where I'm like, you kind of miss them, or you have to like, I don't know. I'm getting used to it. Like Dan made a nice comment about like just kind of getting a feel for it, and I've let myself try to get a feel for it. I'm getting better, but it is a criticism I have of this game, that I don't think it's not fun to spend 10 minutes trying to find a place that shouldn't be that hard. But that's what I've been playing mostly.
Matt?
Yeah, I'll go next. I've been playing one game, 2 games actually. Mario 35. Yeah. That's great. We have a special episode. Go listen to that. How to get good at Mario 35. Everyone is right. It's addicting as fuck. I want to play right now.
It's really fun.
And the second game I've been playing and having so much fun with, which is Phasmophobia. Have you all heard of this?
I've heard of it. Yeah,
yep, heard of it.
It's a ghost hunting game. It's $13 on Steam. It's super fun. You just get these equipment. You go into a house. You try to detect where the ghost is, and then you guessed what the ghost is. But it's spooky as fuck, and it's Halloween season. And then you get to. It's got spatial audio, so sometimes you have to use a walkie-talkie to talk to the people, or sometimes you can talk if they're in the same room. But you're catching a ghost with you and 3 other people, and it's like such a fun and unique experience. And it's fun listening to your friends get scared and try to run away.
Are you playing it in VR?
I'm not playing in VR. Not yet.
Matt's like, fuck that.
Are you scared? Yeah. Are you scared to do it?
Of course. It's just scary in pancake mode.
Pancake mode.
Yeah. That's what you refer to non-VR games.
Yeah, you become such a VR aficionado. I love it.
That's right, baby. But I don't know. I'm really excited to play it, and I'm going to play it with some friends later this week.
That's great.
It's been such a unique game. I've never played a game that's similar like that combines kind of puzzle elements, but also spooky elements. And there's not combat, which is like a weird thing. You just use tools and you guess and you talk to people.
Does somebody play as the ghost? Like, does like a human play as the ghost?
It's all AI.
Okay.
And then you have this like talk box. You try to talk to the ghost to figure out where it is, like how old you are. And it has voice
20
detection.
questions.
Yeah. Do you want to kill me? What's your favorite room? Are you a boy or a girl? I guess ghosts only have two genders.
Yeah.
That's for me, David.
So I haven't been playing too many new games or any really recently. I downloaded, I got like a tiny bit into the Pikmin demo, but not really enough to give any real feelings on it. I also downloaded Genshin Impact with the intent of playing it on my PS4. But then I like while it was downloading, I started playing Super Mario Brothers 35 and then just played that for like hours instead. So I haven't gotten around to playing that. Hopefully next week I can talk a little bit about Genshin Impact, but I know a lot of people at my work are playing Genshin Impact and it seems like it would be a lot of fun to play online. So I might be checking that out next week.
Yeah. Let us know. That game's got a lot of buzz right now.
Yeah. I mean,
I keep seeing commercials for it.
It's already made its budget back apparently. Like its development budget. So that's in like 2 weeks of it being out. So that's pretty crazy. But then other than that, I've been playing a lot of games on my RG350M, my little handheld emulator that I have. And since I've been playing Pokemon Picross, which was like, this like unreleased Game Boy Color game from the Giga Leak. It was like fan translated, like already within a week of it being leaked. And so I played that, and then that got me into this rabbit hole of downloading like fan translations of different Nintendo games and Game Boy games, and just like fan hacks in general. So I played like a Super Mario Land hack, which is like a whole new kind of recreation of that game. Super Mario Land 2 DX, which is like a color version of that game, which is a lot of fun. Just like what Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance has like an aesthetic animation hack, which makes that game a lot more pretty to look at and still keeps the same gameplay. And then checked out a couple things like Live a Live, which is a SNES RPG, has a great fan translation. I checked that out a little bit, and just some stuff like that. Like I'm always poking around the old emulators and playing some old games whenever I'm bored with Mario 35, which is almost never. Jeremy, what about you? What have you been playing this week, man?
I just got an index. I almost called it a Half-Life index. I got a Steam index. Been playing a little bit of Half-Life. I'm not super far in it, but it's pretty freaking cool so far.
Yeah.
I also got just some time to start playing Star Wars Squadrons on it, which is really cool.
Awesome.
It doesn't have like finger tracking or anything. You can only play it with a controller, which is kind of a bummer. I would really like to get like a HOTAS.
Have you started playing it yet? Squadrons?
Yeah, I played Squadrons a bit. I'm only a little bit into the campaign, but I played a bit of multiplayer. I really like it. It kind of runs like dog shit, to be honest. They really need to like update it, at least on PC.
The skybox looks like shit.
Yeah, it really does. But even still, like the game is pretty friggin' tight just to be able to play it. Like you can hear the TIE fighter sounds when they go over you and stuff. I'm just like,
that's one that I'm holding off until I get a proper VR setup to really play.
It's cool. It's really cool. It's really cool. My only gripe about that, like the biggest one, is that I wish it had like better, at least like index controller support. But
sure,
I would like to get like a flight stick for it or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I played a little bit of Half-Life, which was really cool. I was drawing with like the marker. I was drawing a bunch of dicks all over like the glass ceilings and stuff with Alex's markers and stuff in her office.
Never grow up.
Exactly. And then there's this game Pavlov VR or something like that, which is like a multiplayer kind of like physics gun shooter, which is really cool. A bunch of people had like modded Call of Duty maps in that, which was cool. So yeah, Index has been a trip. Besides that, I am well on my way to 360 stars in the Mario All Stars remake.
Really? What have you 100%ed so far?
I haven't 100% in any of them. I'm at like 116 stars in Mario 64.
Wow.
I'm at like 90 stars in Mario Sunshine, which fuck Mario Sunshine at this
point.
Dude,
yeah. Honestly. I was gonna say I made a post on the Switch Headz and on Switch posting the like shit posting group and about the 5 stages of Super Mario Sunshine and a lot of people agreed with me.
It's so true, dude. Like I loved that game so much as a kid, and now playing it, I'm like, holy fuck, I don't want to do this.
It's great, but it's also terrible.
Dude, the pachinko level is one of the worst levels in gaming history. Period.
Yeah. It makes no sense.
Yeah. Mario Galaxy is cool though. I just realized I've never actually done it because apparently there's a spoiler alert, another 120 stars after the original one. So this is really the quest to 480 stars. And I'm getting there, but I still need to get to 360. I'm almost done with Galaxy 2. I'm at like 111 stars on Galaxies. Sunshine, I just can't go back to because of the pachinko shit.
Well, dude, whenever you unlock all 360 stars, you unlock Mario Galaxy 2, right? Which will then give you an additional 240 stars.
Yeah. Dude, I wish it was that easy, man. Besides that, quick shout out to Marvel's Avengers, which was pretty fun, but kind of lame also. Wish there was more people to play with that. And also shout out to the never dying of Apex Legends. Never die. And
very good.
I can't wait till y'all can join us in the fray on that one for sure.
Very good.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jeremy. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us today about cost and value.
Thanks for having me back.
Thanks to Corduroy, who does our music. If you're looking for me, Patrick, online, I am PDYX.
Hey, I'm on Twitter, Matthew, MATHYOU.
I'm pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And what about you, Jeremy? Where can people find you online?
Like PlayStation or somewhere like at Poop Stump.
Poop Stump.
POOP. SHTUMP.
There you go. That's how you spell it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to find our podcast on social media, we are at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook. We are at Switch Headz on Twitter. You can always join our Facebook group, which is Switch Headz in all caps with a Z. It's like the best place to get in touch with us and to talk to us about show ideas and then just anything related to Nintendo. And then, of course, also join our Discord. We've got lots of engagement on there. It continues to grow and become a great hub for anyone that's interested in the Switch or this podcast as well.
I'm surprised how much people are posting pictures in the bullshit Discord channel.
Yeah. The bullshit is basically our shit posting channel, and it's really popping off recently. So if you're looking for dank memes that are too dank even for the Facebook group, make sure you join our Discord channel. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to today's episode on cost versus value in video games. And again, Jeremy, it was great to have you on. Was this our 4th time having you on the show? 3rd time? 4th time?
I think it was 3rd, maybe 4th.
I think you might be in the 4-Pete group.
But, I'll have to double check. I thought I was in 3, but maybe 4.
Regardless, we'll be back next week with an all new episode. We should be doing an episode on collecting, so that'll be interesting if that kind of stuff interests you. And ladies and gentlemen, we love you so much, regardless of what tomorrow's or next week's episode is going to be. We'll see you then. We love you guys very much. We'll see you next week. Remember to vote. Remember to wear a mask. The pandemic isn't over. We love you very much. Bye-bye.